Hello and welcome to what is going to be my second video on YouTube. Today I thought we would slow it down a little bit and talk about something more lighthearted. Hopefully it will be just as, if not more, entertaining than the last video. As you can see from the title, we are going to be talking about all of the jobs I've had in my life. Really, I only count 2 of them as real jobs. Because the first one wasn't so much. I didn't last very long there. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Before I got a job, I was a very, very shy, nervous kid. I was throughout probably my entire schooling experience. I didn't want to get a job, but that's not really something that you have much control over. You gotta get a job so that you can get things. And I wanted things, but I didn't know how to start. So I had a lot of my family pretty much hounding me the entire time, telling me about new job listings and where I should go and what I should do, and I should call them, even though I didn't understand that at the time. Like, I thought they were supposed to be the ones calling me. Why do I have to call them? I'm terrified of phone calls. What do you mean? Now, though, I'm glad that they pushed me as much as they did, even though it did get annoying. It got really annoying. But it's a good thing. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for the family, that sort of helped me out back then. So, job number 1. So this first job was for this really, really big fast food place that I'm not going to name here. But you probably definitely know it. It was really scary, but I pretty much got an interview right off the bat. Like, they were ready to go as soon as I applied. I had heard a lot of things about this particular store that I applied for, about the manager being pretty rude, pretty old, pretty scary lady, but it was the closest place. I didn't want to drive too long. I was really nervous, obviously, and whenever I went into my interview that one morning, she could definitely tell I was very nervous. But she said she'd give me a chance and that I needed to go and do orientation. The day of orientation, she invited me for a free breakfast, and I don't know if that's normal, if that's something that they do regularly, but she did. And I was like, heck yeah, that's awesome. But I did not show up. I said, I'm not going over there. It's going to be weird. I don't want to just walk in and ask for my free breakfast. Who does that? No. So I definitely did not do that. I just left for orientation all by myself. And it was a pretty long drive for whatever reason. They have the orientation in a different city. I don't know, but I was very scared. When I got there, it was really, really boring. They pretty much just talked about your good old common sense stuff, and I had to fill out paperwork, and it was whatever. It wasn't the real job experience. That happened probably a day or 2 after I could actually start, and they gave me my uniforms, my ugly uniforms, my stupid little hat. The first day that I actually worked at this job, it was also pretty boring. Pretty awkward. I met a couple people, met the manager again, and they had me in the back, pretty much just sitting at a table doing computer stuff. It was not anything crazy. I just remember sitting there thinking, oh my god, how am I gonna memorize how to make all these sandwiches, all these foods? I don't know. Like, seriously, if you can memorize that kind of thing, I applaud you. That's amazing. That's a talent right there. Then the second day rolls around. The second day, which is also the last day, they had me all over the store, had me over there at the window, not working it. I was watching some other lady work it, and they were all giving me tips on what I should do, and a lot of them probably gave me tips that you're not supposed to do, so I wasn't really sure who to listen to. It wasn't really like training, like not actual training. That's what terrified me. It felt too fast for me. So I knew then, I was like, this isn't gonna work out. But, it's all that I had, so I tried to stick it out without crying. I made it to the end of the day where they had me actually working. I was like packaging the fries, and I just felt like I was getting in everyone's way People were complaining. There was so many beeps and boops, and it was torture. So then that last little bit, I just sort of stood off to the side and waited until my shift was over. And once it was over, I said in my head, I said, you know what? I'm not coming back. I'm definitely not coming back. And I didn't. And that was my first job. If you can consider it a job. I was really scared of disappointing my family, but I mean, it turned out fine. I'm not entirely sure how much longer after the first job I got my next one, my actual job, my actual experience. But yes, on to job number 2. So basically I got a call one day while I was at the doctor's office about an interview at this other really, really popular store chain that we have a lot of in this area that I live in. A lot of stores right back to back. I don't understand why they make their stores so close together, but if you know, you know. Anyways, I got an interview and the lady told me which store, and I went off and met her. She was very nice. She was really sweet. I heard things after I met her from my family. They told me, you know, my cousin told me that she knew her and she was okay, but she could be pretty stern. And I was like, okay, I can handle that. It's fine. But when I talked to the lady at my interview, it wasn't really an interview. It was just basically her asking me, you know, what I did in my life, which cool, great. I don't know how people do actual serious interviews. That sounds so scary. Yeah, so she gave me the job and I was like, heck yeah. The only thing was I was very terrified of having to count money. I did not understand how to do that, and I know. I had just graduated high school. I graduated with A's and B's. It was great. It was awesome. I don't know how I managed that, but I did it. Math has never been my strong suit, so I was very scared of counting money. But she got me in there, and basically the training was just, you know, me being on the job. Me being there because you can't just stop working because someone needs to be trained, really. So they had me at the front register trying to count the money, and I don't know when it clicked, but it did eventually after a couple slip-ups. And I thought I was going to lose my job actually at one point because I got sent home and they were like, well, we'll let you know what happens later. And I'm like, what? So I remember just going home crying. And then at one point, during one of my first days, I remember getting to go on my lunch break. And over here at this store, they don't have very long lunch breaks. They don't have long breaks at all. So I was like, all right, cool. But I had enough time to go on break that I thought, hey, you know, my house is right down the road. I can just go have some lunch and swing back in because I think my boyfriend at the time was home and, you know, I just wanted to see him, yada yada. Well, I clock out and I go to leave and I get home and I'm like, yeah, this is going great. Well, I get a call from the manager and she just is just, what are you doing? Where are you? Why did you leave? Well, I can't find you anywhere. And I'm just sitting in my car like, oh, I kind of left. I was taking my lunch break. You're not supposed to leave. What? You can't leave the building? Are you insane? So that was very embarrassing. I probably cried a little after that. I probably cried about everything. Yeah, so at this job, I also met a lot of really interesting people. You meet a lot of people when you do retail. I could handle it better than I could fast food any day. I don't think I could ever do a fast food job. Stocking and working the register was fine. I got used to it pretty quickly. I met a couple friends along the way, a couple ladies. It was usually ladies that worked there. I met my now best friend. She's great. We didn't like each other at first, but now we get along great. I went to her wedding. She's about to have a baby. She was around when I had my first baby. It was great. You know, she's been great. She's been a good support, being there for me, and I try to be there for her. I couldn't ask for a better best friend. But yeah, no, we definitely didn't like each other at first. Probably mostly because I would stay on my phone a lot, and I was what you would consider a slacker. You know, it didn't take too much effort. I feel like we couldn't get a lot done because there weren't many people. You'd always have 2 people on a shift. whether it was the day or the nighttime. And I feel like that is a stupid way to do things. It's a stupid way to run your business, because for as much as they want it done, they should have had more people working. I remember that the whole team would pretty much get grouched at, even though we didn't really have time to finish everything. There was also one time, this was after my best friend left, and there was like a whole other set of folks working, and I was pretty much the one who had been there next to like these other two ladies who had been there since the current manager started working as the manager. So I was with this newer lady, and she's older, but she was the manager on duty after everyone else went home. I usually worked nights, so I usually closed. Yeah, no, one day someone pooped in the floor. I'm not kidding. Someone pooped in the floor or brought poop in and just left it on the floor. I don't know. I just remember that it was just in this spot where like somehow they managed to not like poop in a spot that was on camera. So when we went back to look at the cameras, it was like in a blind spot. So no one got caught. But we suffered the consequences. We suffered. We had to pretty much clean it up because no one else was coming to clean it up. And I did not get paid enough for that. I did not get paid enough for anything that happened on that stupid job. But we kind of like tag teamed it. Mopped it up. I don't remember exactly how or what happened, but I remember it was very unpleasant and probably one of the worst experiences there. Then there were a couple, like there were a lot that I could probably talk about, like being sexually harassed and being yelled at. You know, it's just your normal everyday experience when you work the cash register, when you have to deal with angry customers, and boy were some of them really angry. But I stayed there for 2 whole years. I worked there when I was pregnant with my first son, and after I had him for a little bit, I worked all the way up until my due date. I feel like I got pressured into doing that, but I wanted as much time with him as possible. But, you know, it was just a wild experience all around. But I met a lot of friends there. I look back on it fondly. It was crazy. On to the third and final job that I ever had. This was, again, one of the biggest marketplaces, the biggest shopping places that you can think of. You definitely have heard of this one too, I'm sure. Yeah, I got hired on as a stalker. So I didn't have to do an interview at all for this one. I just sort of called the lady. Or no, they called me. I missed it. I was sleeping. And then I called back. And she was like, hey, you want a job? And I was like, heck yeah. And our cat was meowing in the background. And I said, shush, cat. And she said, oh my God, do you have a cat? And I told her about our cat. And, you know, we laughed. And then, you know, I had a job. And I needed one that made more money desperately. Because at this point, it was when I was the only one supporting my son. His dad did not contribute anything. Yeah, it was just me. I was trying to provide, trying to be the best mom that I could be. And so I went and I told my boss that I was working for the other store. I said, girl, I'm sorry. I got a better opportunity. I got a dip. And she didn't really take it that well, but, you know, it is what it is. I left anyway. So this job definitely paid a lot more. Met a couple more interesting people there. It was probably the easiest job that I had also. I really enjoyed it. I could listen to podcasts without being interrupted. Like, occasionally there would be customers come up and ask where things were, but it just really wasn't hard at all. And we would get really long breaks, so that was fun. I also met this one girl who had the same name as me, and we became pretty close. Every time that she would be working on the side of the store that I would be working at, we would talk and we would slack off and hide from the managers and just laugh about things. The hours for this job were also perfect. It sucked having to get up at 5 in the morning, but I'd get off at 2 o'clock and I could hang out with my son. He was still really little. When I would go on my breaks, my lunch breaks and my regular breaks, I would go hide in my car because I didn't really have anybody to talk to. A lot of people that I worked with were much, much older than me. which I was used to, but they were just very different. I don't think that I met anyone that I got super close with. It was just sort of, a job. It was just a job. I was pretty sad around this time too, because this is when, like I said, this is when I broke up with my son's dad. I was going through a hard time being alone and learning to be alone again. But it was great because I could finally sleep better at night, and also I got very hyperfixated, and I had never been so hyperfixated probably since middle school. I was very focused on a certain ship that I also will not name, but if you know, you know. I was drawing like crazy. Oh my god, I miss it so much sometimes. But it was kind of embarrassing also, looking back. I don't think I'd change anything, but my goodness, I would draw on my lunch breaks and just film TikToks in my car and stuff like that. Ugh. Because I was depressed, I didn't really take the job too seriously. And also, I think it was easier for me to just blend in the background and slip away from things, and no one really cared. Until they did care. My son would get sick a couple times, and I also did once. I got really sick. So I had to be out of work a lot. And they don't take doctor's notes for whatever reason. I don't know. I feel like that should be illegal. I feel like that shouldn't be a thing. But somehow everyone's okay with it, and nothing's changing about it so far. So I hope I never have to work there again. But I mean, I had a good time. I enjoyed my time there. It was pretty chill. But I did get fired because of the point system, so that was pretty lame. They brought me in one morning. I thought we were starting work as normal, but they pulled me to the side, and that's when they fired me. And I'm just sitting there like, bro, I don't feel like crying today, and also, why couldn't I have just stayed in bed? I could have gotten a call just as easily, and you tell me not to come in, but no. Nowadays, I am a stay-at-home mom. I might have to get a job one day. I don't know, you know how life is now, you know how crazy it gets, and everything's expensive. But I'm glad that I've gotten to spend as much time with my son as I have, and I hope that I get to spend time with my new son that I'm cooking up. I really couldn't do any of it if it wasn't for my husband. He's been really amazing. I hope that was interesting. I hope that was fun listening to me talk about my stupid jobs. I feel a little embarrassed because I'm 23 and I've only had 2 real jobs, but I mean, hey, that's just how it be for some people, I guess. But yeah, thank you for watching, and if you have a crazy story about one of your jobs, you should leave it down in the comments, because I love reading your comments. It's been a blast so far with my first video. It really means a lot to me, all the people that have liked and subscribed and left comments, because I've really wanted to do this for such a long time. I just never put in the work, but hopefully I can get this one out quickly and put in a bit more effort. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one. That's it. All right, well, bye-bye.